DJ PK, and we are joined once again by Riley Jensen. Riley, good morning.
My guy.
Riley, I have a theory to run by you because you are our guy as much as we are your guys. I'm looking at all the wailing of gnashing of teeth, and I get that, man. There was a lot of change all at once. And, you know, then Morgan's got to go out and hire more coaches than he expected. He probably always expected he'd have to hire one or two, but he had to hire like five. And now strength and conditioning and all that. And BYU's had changes too. But I'm looking at Utah and BYU and Michigan and thinking any one of those schools might win 10 games this year. I'd bet one of them does. Now, you could sit here and argue maybe they all could. Seems weird that they would all hit. I guess we can't rule it out, but it wouldn't seem to be the way to predict. How rosy or not do you view things for these schools? Because we have people in the community pulling for one or more of these teams and probably pulling against them as well. How much winning do you expect right out of the gate after Kyle Whittingham scrambles all the puzzle pieces in the box?
So I think I'll start with Michigan. I think they were 9-3 last year.
They were. Lost the bowl game for 9-4.
And it was like a disaster behind the scenes. Like you're bringing some stability. You're bringing like great coaching. You're bringing the same type of toughness that we've always known the Big Ten for. I don't think there's any question that they're going to have 10 wins. And so I just think, boy, what a great setup for Kyle Whittingham and for his crew. And he pretty much landed every coach that he wanted to land. And so that indicates the kind of money that's being paid out. I mean, some of these guys are really tight with Morgan as well and with Kalani. And it had to have been the type of money that it changes lifestyle, not just, there's a couple $100,000. Like, I feel like in some instances, some of these guys are getting paid double what they were getting paid at their other schools. Now, I don't know the exact numbers or anything like that, but typically that's why you're able to get everybody that you want to get. Secondly, I think that the culture at BYU with Kalani is fantastic. It's funny because there's two phrases that always go out about quarterbacks about maybe Bear will have a sophomore slump. And then there's always like the coaches thing that in between year one and year two is where the most growth takes place. So I don't know which one's going to happen, but I get a feeling that he's going to get better because there's still a lot of things for Bear to grow with. And I've talked about this ad nauseum with you guys where the way that you can tell a veteran quarterback is comfortable is when he can throw the ball downfield over the middle. Now, some of the people that are listening right now are like, well, Bear was throwing the ball over the middle against Texas Tech, but there was a couple of telltale signs that Aaron Roderick was actually telling him where to throw the ball in the Texas Tech game. And so for me, there's still a lot of growth that can take place with Bear that's going to make them even better, right? And then up at the University of Utah, what I like about what's going on, look, this was something that if things were going well for Morgan that he was going to have to learn how to do anyway, because when you're a good coach, like coaches leave, they go and they take better opportunities. They get opportunities to either grow in position or grow in money, and you have to replace coaches. What I like about what I'm seeing with Morgan is he's replacing these coaches with stellar men. Like, I'm sorry, but Kevin McGibbon, there's not a better guy out there. Like, I'm not sure that there's a better human being out there than Coach McGibbon. And so there's a whole bunch of really, really good things going on for all the schools. Does it give every single school angst? Of course it does. I mean, and I think it was Hans that brought it up on the radio. He just felt like as soon as Kyle signed with Michigan that it was going to leave a dent in every program. And right now we can see that every single school in the state of Utah right now has been affected in some way or another by this. I mean, you got Skylar Ridley going from Weaver State up to Utah State. You got Robert and I going in. You got McGiven going to the University of Utah. And then, of course, all the coaches from BYU and Utah that went to Michigan. And, look, as much as we don't like change, these coaches are used to change a lot more than we are, if that makes sense. Now, we're spoiled a little bit at BYU and Utah in the sense that there's been a lot of continuity. But, man, the long answer to your question is I would not be surprised if all three teams have 10 wins next year. Because I think the culture is good. I think the excitement for Morgan is good. I think what Kalani has established at BYU is good. And I think the stability that Kyle Whittingham brings to Michigan is going to be exactly what they want. So I'm excited. I love all this stuff. At least it's all good news for these coaches in the month of December, because there are some coaches that I talk to in the month of December, and it gets real depressing because it gets real dark for a minute.
And Morgan brought that up in his press conference, in which he's talking about, putting the program in a positive light. I thought he did a great job. But I told him later, I said, I thought that speech was very authentic. It was very much Morgan Scally, and that's who he is. And he presented himself in a raw manner, getting emotional, talking about his family, his parents, and blah, blah, blah. So he's a real human being there. And he's so the word that comes to mind, as I told him, is authentic. It's just, that's who Morgan Scally is. And he brought up the fact that, well, at this time last year, there were a lot of questions because they were bringing over essentially an entire new offensive staff, right? So and they went ahead and won 11 ball games. So they had a really good season. They were a really good team. And his point was, well, we're in the same situation this year, and look what we just did last year. And the thing that I think is different, where I want you to come in and offer your expertise, is on, okay, he brought in Atawaya, who brought his running back. He brought in Jason Beck, who brought Micah Simon, his receivers coach, who brought a receiver, and obviously they brought Dampier in. So there was in terms of Simon and the receiver Davis and the quarterback, even though it was brand new to Utah, those guys had a familiarity. Now you bring in a coaching staff, particularly from the offensive perspective, it's like scattered. You took guys from all over the place rather than a couple of guys, and they had already a connection. They just brought what they did over to Utah. How do you think, as far as a challenge of all this stuff coming together, because McGiven has seen obviously Dampier play, but he hasn't had that relationship to the level that Jason Beck has, and then so forth on, go right down the staff. They don't have that connection with each other nor the players. How much of a challenge do you think that will be?
Well, I mean, I think that's the key to coaching, right? Like that's always the tough position as a coach, is can I build a relationship with this player that then in turn helps him to play to the very best of his ability. I have known McGiven since his first stint at Utah State. He's a local guy. He's from Orem, Utah. He is just as authentic to himself as Morgan is. And I think that's what I think is going to be a good thing for these players. There's no hidden agenda. There's no huge ego with Coach McGiven. I mean, you have to have a little bit of an ego to be a coach, in the sense that, like, you take pride in what you do, but it's not about, like, pounding your chest and look how great I am. And so I think Dampier's going to love somebody like McGiven. I love what you said about Morgan, because I think authenticity is probably the biggest key to a coach. And really it's a key to all of us in life, is just to be as authentic as possible, because when you're authentic, people can trust you. And that's really what you're looking for. That's why you'll see guys out there that loved Bill Parcells as a coach, and you listen to Bill Parcells on the phones and listen to him just ripping into players and ripping guys. But, like, I would have loved to play for Bill Parcells because he didn't move the goalposts on you. He was authentic. He told you exactly what you needed to do to play. I think that's what's true with Coach Mendenhall. I think that's what's true with Kalani. I think that's what's true with Morgan. I think that's what's true with Coach Whittingham. And I think we're starting to see that this coaching tree that has kind of developed underneath Lavelle Edwards and Ron McBride from years ago is really starting to like branch out and show you that way was a winning way for a reason. And these guys are great coaches that have either coached under Lavelle or played under Lavelle or coached under McBride or played under McBride, and then their tree. So like McGiven was underneath Coach Anderson, and man, it's really impressive the legacy that those two coaches have left. In my opinion, they're not only leaving their signature on the state of Utah in football, but they're leaving their signature around the country now.
Positions you're really worried about, or positions you're very excited about because who has landed in to fill a hole? Any players you've seen where, you're pretty active in the high school scene, you know a lot of coaches, you're really excited for somebody who's brand new and we don't know about them?
Well, I think everybody knows about Celeste Moa at the University of Utah. Was going to go to Tennessee, and then they were able to keep him at the University of Utah. I think he's a fantastic player. His dad Ben played for the University of Utah. I think on that 2004 team that won the Fiesta Bowl. I think he's a really, really exciting player. And then I'm really, really interested to see the hiring of Jordan Gross and what the offensive line now looks like going forward and how they improve at the University of Utah. And then obviously I don't know who the defensive coordinator is going to be at BYU. I'm a little bit concerned about that. We've talked about this on the show before, but I mean, there's guys that have coached under Jay, but Jay is Jay, and it's nuanced to be a defensive coordinator and know what defenses to call when, and he has a lot of good experience there. But Kalani was also a fantastic defensive coordinator, and I think between Kalani and the guys that coached under Jay, it'll be really interesting. I'm interested to see what happens at that position or at BYU on defense, and then I think offensively, they're losing a receiver. I'm interested to see who's going to step up at the receiver position, because the better and better that Bear Bachmeier gets, the better the receivers are going to be. And is it an opportunity for Cody Hagan to step up and be the guy that everybody thought he was going to be? Is it somebody else that comes into the program? What is that going to look like? And I think there's an opportunity for that to look really good. I think there's also an opportunity, for the offensive line at the University of Utah, the defense at BYU, and the receivers at BYU to maybe not look as good as we'd hoped. And so those are some positions that just come to mind.
Matt Campbell goes to Penn State, and it's upwards of 20 guys from Iowa State that are following him, including the quarterback, Beck, obviously. And so it looks like he's decimating the roster at Iowa State with the players wanting to go. And so far as Michigan from both BYU and Utah, because it's affected both programs, obviously from the coaching angle, unless I'm missing somebody, no one's committed yet. It doesn't look like there is going to be the level of departure that there has been from Iowa State to Penn State, which for these programs is really good. You don't want to lose a bunch of players, obviously players that you've been counting on and been in your system for 3-4 years. And that's how you win, is having veteran dudes who've been around under these coaches. So I think that it's sending a strong message that these kids like it. Now, Utah's lost, 3 or 4 kids that were supposed to be starters. I don't think that BYU, they got guys in the portal, but I don't think they're looking for playing time. So we understand that they're not looking for the bag, as they say, or they're not frustrated with the situation, so they want out. To me, that is a powerful recruiting tool that you can use. That, hey, when Jay Hill left, so far anyway, and Guilford, obviously, there hasn't been guys leaving, and then virtually the entire offensive staff at Utah, along with the head coach, there hasn't been a bunch of, maybe they'll end up going, but for right now, how much do you think they can use that as a recruiting tool? Our guys like it here.
Oh, I think you use it as you use whatever you can as a recruiting tool. You know, obviously John Henry Daly, there's a real possibility that he could end up at Michigan.
Yeah.
An excellent talent and an unbelievable player. But I think I don't mean to disregard him, but I feel like defensive line and defensive backs at the University of Utah kind of grow on trees. I mean, obviously they've developed them and stuff like that, but that's a position that they can continue to recruit and continue to develop to become really, really successful. And I think it's a testament to these coaches. I think the underswell of love for Morgan Scalley is gigantic. I think the underswell of love for Kalani is gigantic. And I think I've heard through the grapevine a lot of times like, oh, I love Kalani. I'm just having a hard time with my position coach. You know what I mean? Like they love him. They love him. And so it's, you know, and that's kind of how it should be. Like the position coaches should be the ones that are pushing you, and you should love your head coach, right? He should be building you up and making. And I think that's an indicator that Kalani is making that a great destination to be. I really do feel like there's a vibe at BYU that there hasn't been before. I feel like in the past it was a little bit manufactured, where it feels a little bit more authentic, the vibe that's there. And then I think Morgan. And as much as I think Kyle was unbelievable, I think Morgan is a little bit more of a dynamic personality in the press and isn't afraid to be authentic. Now that may change because he may get burned by the press and feel like, oh, I got to be more like Kyle. But I think in the beginning there's going to be some things that are really fun to listen to, and he's gonna give some insight that maybe we haven't heard in the state in a while.
Kyle is where the industry is going. And I mean sports. I don't mean college football. No. More buttoned up, less access. You know, Kyle, when he does his press conferences, he's really good. But as PK would recount during the week, the total number of minutes he was available was pretty small. The stuff he said, you know, really landed and was true and all that kind of stuff. He gave us some really good insights, but it was 15 minutes on Monday. It was 2 or 3 minutes on Tuesday, and it was 10 minutes after the game. You know, there wasn't a lot. So if you choose to be out there now, I think there's a huge void to fill. And I think you can really get your message and your spin out there. It's available for the people who want it. You know, I'm calling the soccer games, and so I go down to the facility every Tuesday, sometimes on Fridays if they're at home. And so I'm going to have PK doesn't do any of that, doesn't have to, and we have Pablo on, but Pablo is open in that way that most coaches aren't, and says stuff that's really true, and it gets PK's event. PK has more buy-in to soccer because Pablo's willing to talk. And you can debate that. I mean, right, PK, isn't that pretty much it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, if you're going to explain to me how it works and the difference between winning and losing and coaching young guys up and getting them to develop, like, you get me, and there aren't a lot of people who do it. And when they do it, they're good, but a lot of people are really closing up shop.
Look, I don't know how we got sidetracked on soccer here, DJ.
Yeah,
but,
he's an example of what Morgan can be.
I mean, let's drive the ratings here and get back on track.
Okay.
Football.
All right, Tanner.
But,
Ethan. Who was the third one? Sterling, yeah.
Ethan, Tanner, and Sterling. I got 5'7" guys telling me about the intricacies of the pitch, and I want to talk about football here. Okay?
Yeah.
So here's the deal. Deion Sanders has showed that if you have a personality, you can draw some attention. Now, has it been perfect? Is he the greatest coach in the world? No. But, man, you have to admit there's some bells and whistles and some different feel about Colorado than there ever has been. And I think in his own way, not in as much bravado and not as, you know, as big of a personality as Deion, I think Morgan's going to be able to do that in his own way. And as long as he stays authentic to himself, I think it'll be a great recruiting tool for the University of Utah. I mean, Morgan, look, he worked for 1280 The Zone for a while when I was selling radio there. It's a dynamic personality. Like, that guy has a lot of energy, and he has a lot to say, and he is fun to be around. And, you know, you start looking around, and I've got an 11-year-old son, and I think everybody hopes that their kid can play college football. I mean, I'm looking around the state right now going, holy crap. Like, if Bronco's still around, Eric Kerr is still around at Weber, if Kalani's still around and Morgan is still around, who would you rather your kid play for? I mean, these are outstanding individuals, like outstanding individuals. And you don't think about that much as a player as you do as a parent about, like, hey, you want whoever is being the leader of his team to be some sort of a father figure that is echoing some of the things that you feel and think about life. And I can't think of 4 guys that would be more exciting for my kid to play for than the 4 guys that are right here in our state.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I agree. This is just a great time. All these guys that we've known for years, and we all want to see them do well. In terms of excitement, that even at Weber, just hiring Eric the way they did, man, that just all of us at the radio station, we're going to be watching Weber a lot more than we used to. And we're probably going to be talking about Weber.
We know you will. We know you will because you turned on.
Yeah, but if I will, that means they will, because nobody's better at doing it than me.
It's going to be really obnoxious watching you just like jump on the bandwagon when we've all been sitting there at Weber for a while. But we'll take you.
I will be on the Weber bandwagon, but I've been on the care. I care. That has been my motto for years. I care. Yes. I know. It was a little obnoxious when you turncoated, and you just became all about Corner Canyon. But I had to convince you. You thought the guy was a bum.
I did not. When did I ever say that? See,
when you were coaching at Alta, you'd send me texts. Overrated, clueless. I still got the evidence, Riley R. Jensen.
This is so typical of the media. Like, do you still beat your wife? Like this is the whole thing. No,
yeah, I beat her in golf.
Myself for something that didn't happen.
Sure. Keep here. Get me take that shovel away from you, man. You're digging a hole.
The first person who said to me, not only could they do it, but that they should do it, was Riley R. Jensen. They've got to do it. He was on the press box at Skyline High in commercial breaks during the state quarterfinal playoff game, PK, and he's like, they've got to do it. They've got to do it. I'm like,
yeah, and I hope
that's a big ask.
DJ.
It's a big ask.
Did you pay him?
What?
Did you pay him to do that?
I'm sorry, you're breaking up, PK. What?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Ask Nate, man. I don't handle the money. I've told you that. Go talk to Nate if you want money. Leave me alone.
Who's that? Your financial advisor?
No, he's your boss.
Bernstein.
Well, he's one of your bosses. He's one of your 8 bosses or whatever we have now. I don't even know.
Listen, if I don't get paid by KSL, I just go to DJ, and he has Hamilton. His butler. Right. His butler gives me a little check on the side.
Yeah, there's a reason. There's a reason why we call DJ R. Cody Campbell.
Right. And I've gotten to know Pendleton. He's a great guy. He's a great guy.
I got a big TV. Paycheck is why I live in Utah.
And a massive one at that.
I think I'd rather talk soccer. All right.
You saved the school $600,000?
600,000. Riley, I don't even know what that noise was. We better go. It might not be okay. All right. Thank you, Riley.
Hey, thanks, guys. I love being on with you guys. Yep. Take care.
All right, there you go. Riley Jensen talking a little football. PK, what do you think? How many 10-win seasons? We're going to be following all these teams. At the start of this year, I thought I was pretty positive at the start of this year. I thought BYU's going to win at least 8, and Utah's going to win at least 9, maybe more. And sure enough, Utah goes to 10, and BYU goes to 11. Obviously, they added bowl wins on top of that, but we were just talking 12-game predictions at the start of the year. When you start thinking 10-win seasons, I know the rosters aren't even set yet. So, but is it out of the realm? Is it on the table for you?
Oh no, it's not out of the realm. It is definitely on the table because of the fact of the success that they had last year, and the amount of folks returning with Bear, and we assume Devin that's a great starting point right there. I don't care who's coaching. That's a great starting point.
So as much as we wring our hands over Texas Tech, why don't we come back after the break and we'll catch people up to date on everything that we've been talking about in the show, as we always do. But I think there's one more point that, like, we're only looking one direction. We're only looking over one shoulder. We got to look over the other shoulder next. The view might be better over there. We'll get to that next. Stay with us.